I'm going to call the meeting to order, please. Okay, the meeting will come to order. I'd like to welcome everybody back for the school year 2023-2024. And we're looking forward to having a great year with parents, faculty, students, community. Laura Lee, would you please call the roll?
Stu Boyd.
Here. Whoops. Let's see. Forgot how to do it. Here.
Amy Doran.
Here.
Pam Howard.
Here.
Don Kirk.
Here.
Barbara Cruz.
Here.
Alexander Lessem.
Here.
Nancy Rumfeld.
Here.
All right, thank you, Laura Lee. Stu, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Of course. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Stu. And Dawn, would you please read the mission statement for us?
The Thompson School District will be a school district that empowers, challenges, and inspires students, faculty, staff, parents, school leaders, and community members to learn, achieve, and excel.
Thank you. All right, our next order of business is the adoption of the agenda for today, which is August 16th, 2023. Are there any changes to the agenda for tonight's meeting? Hearing none, I will take a motion to adopt the agenda as printed.
So moved. Second.
So I have a first from Pam and a second from Dawn for approval of the agenda for tonight. So Laura Lee, will you call the roll, please?
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Pam Howard.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Alexander Lessem.
Aye.
Nancy Rumfeld.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes, and we have 3 meeting minutes to approve, so this will take just a little bit longer than normal. So 3.1 is approval of the minutes of June 21, 2023. This was our last business meeting before we took the month of July off. Does anybody have any changes or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the minutes for June 21, 2023.
So moved. Or second.
Okay, so first from Stu and a second from Dawn for approval of the June 21, 2023. Did I say that right? Yeah, 2023 minutes. So Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran. Pam Howard.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Alexander Lessem.
Aye.
Nancy Rumfeld.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Laura Lee. 3.2 is the approval of the minutes for August 2nd, 2023. That was our study session that we had when we started back this month. Oops. We have a flood up here. A little water came. I lost my place. Okay, does anybody have any changes or corrections to the minutes for a study session on August 2nd? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the minutes for August 2nd.
So moved.
Dawn and,
Second.
thank you, Pam. You are multitasking now, aren't you? Yes. Okay. Okay. We have a motion from Dawn and a second from Pam for approval of the August 2nd, 2023 minutes. So Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran. Pam Howard.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Alexandra Lessem.
Aye.
Nancy Rumfeld.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. The third one is 3.3 approval of the minutes for August 3rd, 2023. This was our retreat that we had as a working session for an all-day time that we spent together. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes of our retreat? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the minutes for August 3rd, 2023.
So moved.
Dawn?
Second.
Thank you, Pam. have a first from Donna and a second from Pam for approval of the minutes for August 3rd, 2023. Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran. Pam Howard.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Alexandra Lessem.
Aye.
Nancy Rumpfelt.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Laura Lee. Okay, we had some water spill, is all it is. But Dr. Sieber has helped us out with just a little paper towel. All right. Public participation is next on our agenda, so Dr. Schaefer, we'll turn to you.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, members of the Board of Education. We're really excited to be back, and welcome back to the 23-24 school year. And we have some pictures and some highlights of things that are going on across the district. So we will start. Welcome back to our approximately 15,000 students to our district campuses. The opening days of school are marked by excitement, anticipation, and the promise of limitless potential. We are ready to watch our students grow, and we look forward to a terrific upcoming school year. This past Monday was transition day for our kindergarten, 6th, and 9th grade students. The district sets aside one day to help students who are transitioning to a new campus, which allows them to have the buildings to themselves while they find their way around and meet their new classrooms and teachers. I would personally like to welcome our 150-plus new teachers to the Thompson School District. New teachers received a red carpet welcome, followed by a presentation and formal kickoff to the new year on their first day here at Thompson. Many group and individual activities were planned to help onboard the new staff. I'm especially proud of our entire district team here in TSD, and I look forward to working with them as we continue to educate and support each student. Thank you, Thompson Education Foundation, for supporting a total of 1,450 students through this year's TEF Help Kids Succeed school supply drive. The foundation donated 1,025 backpacks and 425 supply kits to TSD students for the start of the school year. Over 84 community volunteers gathered at Lucille Irwin Middle School to assemble the backpacks, while 16 members of the Sertoma Club delivered them to the district schools. This month, we are very excited to officially welcome the Peakview Academy at Conrad Ball campus into our TSD family. Crews were busy all summer, and still now, working on key projects to renovate the site and prepare it for the opening days of school. The new pre-K-8 campus is beautiful, and we are very proud to announce that we will host a community event on September 14th at 5 p.m., and we hope you can join us for this celebration. Another exciting project that is now complete is our expansion work at High Plains School. The new gym and classroom spaces on the south side of the building are now open and are being fully utilized. A September 12th community event is planned, and additional information will be announced soon. Here's an important reminder from our Nutrition Services Department. The new Healthy School Meals for All program began this month for the 23-24 school year. The program provides free meals for all students regardless of income. Other state and federal grants are awarded based on free and reduced meal eligibility rates. Because of this, we are asking families to continue to fill out benefit application forms. Even if you are unsure if your family qualifies for benefits, our Nutrition Services team encourages you to fill out an application. A link to the document is located on the district website. We are very excited to announce that we have filled all 50 slots for the Senior Property Tax Work-Off program. Through this opportunity, participants volunteer in our schools, and in return, they receive a payment that is applied toward their property tax bill. Volunteers in the program must be 62 years of age or older and own and live in their home within the TSD boundary area. Congratulations to our very own Chief Technology Officer, Kelly Sane, who was named a top 30 tech influencer by EdTech. Kelly's dedication, innovative approach, and relentless pursuit of excellence has earned her this well-deserved recognition. As a leading figure in the educational technology sector, Kelly has consistently demonstrated a keen understanding of the evolving needs of educators and learners alike. Congratulations, Kelly. We have some very special guests here in the audience tonight, so I'm going to introduce them. The first one is Aiden Hurst. Aiden is a Loveland High School senior. So Aiden, if you can rise, I'm going to say some, I'm going to say some nice things about you, yeah. We are very excited to announce Loveland High School senior Aiden Hurst. Aiden earned second place out of a field of 1,047 at the 2023 National Speech and Debate Tournament in the category of extemporaneous debate. This is a tremendous achievement, and we are very proud of him. Congratulations again to Aiden, as well as his speech and debate team, coach, Pat DeMartine. Hey, Aiden, that's a big deal. And as I was visiting
Very
with
big deal.
Aiden prior, I used to coach speech and debate when I was a high school teacher. Nationals is a big deal. It is a very big deal. And it's to come in second in the nation is pretty awesome. Congratulations. Aiden brought his trophy. Aiden will be taking a picture with you. We have a couple other students we're going to recognize, but yeah, super proud of you. What was your topic, by the way, if you don't mind, if it was extemp?
In the final, it was
The
the U.S. should keep the debt ceiling.
U.S. should keep the debt ceiling. And you agreed with that? You had to. And that's why he took second. Okay. Finally, we have 3 Thompson School District wrestlers who competed at the recent U.S. Marine Corps National Championships in Fargo, North Dakota. I believe we have 2 of our wrestlers with us, and that would be Loveland High School senior Lindsay Lopez. Lindsay, if you don't mind standing. Yep, we can clap for her. Lindsay placed 3rd in state competition last year and captured 4th out of a 128-person bracket at 112 pounds. Her sister, who is also a Loveland High School senior, Lexi Lopez. Lexi, if you don't mind standing, please. Lexi, yep. Lexi placed 2nd out of a 128-person bracket at 122 pounds. And as you can see, Lexi is also enhancing her competitive resume beyond her impressive 2nd place finish at state last year. I will mention, and he's not here tonight, but Mountain View High School junior Isaiah Harrison also competed at the same national championship. Isaiah placed 2nd out of 256 in the bracket at 113 pounds. Isaiah is looking to build on his state championship from last year. But tonight is all about Loveland High, so we've got 3 of you here. We would love to have the 3 of you, 3 students, come forward, and the board would be honored to take a picture with you.
Yes. You jump in. I'm going to take a couple. Thank you, guys. Well done. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
We have 3 individuals that are on consent agenda this evening that we will be recommending for hire. And so I'm going to introduce one at a time, have them come forward, and I'll say some great things about them. First, we're going to invite Adam Cohn. Adam to come forward. And here he comes with, representing Turner Middle School. We are excited to recommend Adam Cohn as the next assistant principal of Turner Middle School. Upon receiving Adam's bachelor's degree in psychology from CU Boulder, Adam started his first year teaching 3rd grade in the St. Vrain Valley School District. He then moved to Boulder Valley School District for 4 years, where he taught various subjects for first, third, fourth, and fifth grade students. Adam then transitioned to a counseling position after receiving his master's degree in counseling from the University of Phoenix. For the next 7 years, he was a counselor at Frederick High School in St. Vereen Valley School District. During his time, he worked at the school. He worked on culture and climate and building relationships with students and families. He created an environment where students felt safe to take risks, develop positive self-esteem, and learn to be persistent in accomplishing both current and future goals. Adam then moved on to Northridge High School in the Greeley-Evans School District 6 to become the Climate and Culture Coordinator, a position he held for 7 years. In this role, he was a mentor and trainer for staff. He helped them build relationships with their students and parents and guided staff to create lesson plans and teaching strategies that encourage students to collaborate, innovate, and grow. Adam also took on dean responsibilities at Northridge. In 2020, Adam shifted roles and became the assistant principal at Northridge, a position he held for 3 years. He continued to promote positive staff morale and student learning environment. Adam wants to continue his work at Turner Middle School by increasing access to grade-level content for all students and supporting teachers in creating an environment of strong academic discourse and effective student feedback. Adam, excited to have you aboard.
Thank you. I was told to make sure that I had a 10-minute speech, so I have it ready here. I just wanted to thank everybody for this opportunity. I've been looking forward to working in a middle school since I started in education, and my path has taken me in a lot of different places, but I have to say I've never felt as welcome and as supported as I have in these past few weeks. I actually went to a training before the summer started, and the first day I walked in, I really knew about 2 people in the entire room, and by the end of the day, I just felt like I was already part of the family, and that, you can't teach that. And so that is a testament to our entire staff, our community, to everybody on the board. And I just want to say thank you. It's an honor to be able to stand up here and be addressed, so thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'm pleased to introduce Miss Vivian Pankow. Vivian is our new assistant principal at Peakview Academy at Conrad Ball. Upon completing her bachelor's degree in elementary inclusive education from Minnesota State College and University, Vivian was the family programming supervisor at YMCA of the Rockies. Here she was responsible for supervising and evaluating 40 seasonal staff members. She also created, offered, and led activities for guests. Following 3 years there, Vivian started her teaching career at East Grand School District as a K-2 science teacher. After 1 year at that level, she then moved to 5th grade, where she remained for 2 years. During her time at East Grand, she implemented positive behavior plans for students while developing and creating effective and engaging lessons based on standards and curriculum. Vivian came to Thompson in 2018 and started as a 5th grade teacher at Mary Blair Elementary. She continued in that position for 4 years until taking the position of academic behavioral interventionist. In this position, Vivian provided academic instruction and intervention to small groups of 4th and 5th grade students. You may remember that Vivian served as the interim principal of Mary Blair Elementary, and now she will continue supporting students and staff in her new role as the assistant principal at Peakview Academy at Conrad Ball. Vivian, we're excited to have you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board. Thank you so much for this opportunity to serve as the assistant principal of a brand new school. It is a really exciting time, and I am honored to be a part of it in its first year of business, right? So I am looking forward to quite a few things this year, right? Everything is new, but everything is exciting. Specifically, I'm looking forward to connecting with not only our students and our staff, but also with our families and our greater Peakview community. Through purposeful community connection, we can really enhance the learning experience for our students and provide them with unique and authentic opportunities that go beyond the walls of the school. So we are excited to offer that while also offering that high quality instruction that's combined with students' passions and their desires. We really want to make the learning purposeful and engaging for our students and show them that they can dream big. Overall, I'm just excited to see the growth and the success that Peakview Academy has. So I thank you for your time and hope to see you in the school soon.
Thanks, Vivian. And last but not certainly not least is Mr. Ryan Wallstrom. And Ryan, as he makes his way up, is our new assistant principal athletic director at Mountain View High School. Ryan has been a PE health teacher at Greeley West High School since 2016. He was responsible for developing, planning, and implementing a safe, innovative, and enriching educational environment that engages all students using different instructional methods. Prior to teaching, Mr. Wallstrom worked for the City of Gunnison Parks and Recreation Department and for the Western State Colorado University Athletics Department. Ryan has a K-12 physical education degree from Western State College of Colorado and a master's degree in sports administration from the University of Northern Colorado. Ryan, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Being a Northern Colorado native, very fortunate to be a part of Thompson School District and specifically Mountain View High School and their school community. Yesterday, I definitely got fired up first time in this role in front of students and being in that environment, and so that definitely kind of was the founding reason of why, obviously the best educational leader I can be is my goal, but on the athletics activity side, I believe in the power of what that does for our students, and since this time, right, the support I've received since I've gotten here has been monumental in starting and what I've been able to done this far, so I'm very, very fortunate for that. So I'm excited for the school year ahead, and I appreciate talking to you all again soon, so. Thank you.
And that completes my report.
Turn this on. The next part of our agenda is our board and committee reports. And I asked the board members to select one of the committees that they are a part of and tell us what the committee is, share the information of why that committee is in place, when it meets, purpose and all, so that we have an opportunity to share with the public some of the roles that we take on as board members. So I'm going to start, Nancy, we'll start with you. Which committee are you going to do?
Okay, I serve as the board liaison on the DAC, which is, I might get the A's mixed up, District Advisory and Accountability Committee. And this committee actually exists through legislative, and in doing some research, I even learned some things about the community I didn't know. But the intent of the legislature was to increase the level of parental engagement in the school district and in the public schools, and for parents to be the driving force behind DAC. And so who's supposed to be on the committee? Number one is parents. It says minimum 3, 1 teacher, 1 administrator, and 1 community member. Parents is the number one priority. Also, parents shall not be eligible to serve on DAC if employed by the district, only if the district makes a good faith effort to find parents to serve. It needs 1 parent to be in a charter. Someone has to have knowledge of charters, and only parents who are they're not employed can be the chair and co-chair. And then what do? They look at the district performance. They give input on the improvement or priority improvement turnaround plans for schools that might need that. They review all the charter applications. They provide input concerning the creation of and enforcement of school conduct and discipline. They work with principals on concerning the use of development of assessment tools. They're supposed to work to increase parental engagement, and then also to really publicize and solicit for more parents to become members of DAC, and kind of I guess a sister to that is the school level, is the school accountable committees. The board and DAC shall at least annually cooperatively determine areas and issues in addition to the budget issues that DAC shall study, and then the board shall consider recommendations in adopting the budget. So it's a very important committee, really a great way as parents to really get engaged and involved and be part of a lot of the decisions that helped the district become really great. And that's why every year I always work on promoting, trying to see if I can find more parents. I do find often people are like, they have no idea what DAC is. They usually have never heard of it. So hopefully we can change that. And it meets the fourth Tuesday of every month. And this year, it doesn't start till 6 p.m. and it goes till 7:30. So it's an hour and a half now instead of 2 hours. You can attend remote, or you can do in person. So it's nice to have those options. It's worked really well for this committee. And I encourage everyone, all the parents who might be listening in the audience or at home, this is a great way, again, to get involved, or even at the school level.
Thank you, Nancy. Stu?
Okay. Since pretty much every month I report to the board and those in attendance and those who are watching at home on the Legislative Relations Committee for the Colorado Association of School Boards. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the other committee that I'm a liaison to, which is the Master Planning Committee, abbreviated as MPC. This is a committee that meets monthly. The MPC prepares the master plan for the district, which includes the history, demographics, and vital information about all district facilities, as well as long-range planning recommendations. The committee consists of people from all 7 director districts. Some of the folks on MPC have planning and construction experience. Some do, most don't. As the board representative on that committee, I've come to really appreciate the contribution that they make. They study issues, they meet with each other and talk through the essential topics, and they provide essential feedback not only for themselves, but from various sectors of the community. So they do a very important job as it relates to operations and facilities.
Thank you, Stu. Pam?
Well, I know it'll be a shock to you that I'm going to report on the Thompson Education Foundation. So since 1989, TEF, Thompson Education Foundation, has been in place to help out our students. The foundation supports over 70 programs and activities, projects throughout the district. The impact, for example, is just recently we did the Help Kids Succeed backpack, and 1 in 9 of our students in the district received a backpack stuffed with all of the school supplies they need for this year from TEF. So we really rely on community donors to help with these very large projects. So during the year, there's various fundraisers that I report on, golf tournaments, that sort of thing that I'm always yapping about, but it's for a good cause. We currently have 800 unhoused students in the district, and TEF focuses a great deal on helping those unhoused students reach success because they have so many hurdles to overcome that a lot of our students do not. And in addition, TEF provides over $2 million of scholarships each and every year to our graduating seniors as they go on to a community college or a university or a trade school. And so that $2 million, as you can imagine, is a huge help for our students as they go on. The board of Thompson Education Foundation is made up of community members and educators. We really tap into the business community quite a bit. We want to know, what they think, what they see out there, and get their input. Their advice is very valuable to us. You can apply to be, any community member can apply to be on the Thompson Education Foundation board, and you can look that up at thompsontef.org. Thanks.
Thank you, Pam. I'm going to pass it over to Dawn. I'll do mine last.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about the Security and Emergency Management Committee. It is a staff committee that meets once a month. 4 years ago, we didn't have one at this point. And when I was in this room about this time 4 years ago, Joe Vajansky, our director now of safety and security, was getting ready to start it. And so there is a lot that has changed in that amount of time, even more that's changed just in the last year. And just this evening, an email went out across the district asking people to be part of the community security and emergency management committee. I might have the name wrong, but you all have the link because we are looking to have a voice that includes more active parents, community, and student voice, even though they've all been tapped into in different ways before now. This will be just a new way to get involved. So this year alone, the security team has done a lot of work. I think picking one is hard, but I think the biggest change that we've seen is the co-responder program, where we have we started in January, I believe, it might have been November, with one co-responder team, which is one mental health professional and one law enforcement. And they are working for the district. This is a district position, not like the ones that we see in the community law enforcement agencies. And they now are a resource for anyone in the district who needs help. And what we saw in just a few short months is that they were getting more calls from basically anyone who could ask for help than all of our SROs. And so this year, now we're going to have 2 more. So we've tripled the size of the team in just a few months. And our expectation is that that'll just help us be connecting with more people, more kids with resources that they need. And what's really great also about the co-responders is that it's not just a point in time like law enforcement usually is, where they come in and they deal with the situation and then they, go off to do the next situation. This is more long-term support, where they're checking in, they're making calls home, they're connecting them to resources, checking in a few days to see how they're doing. And so it's really nice for us to have more wraparound services. And we are seeing that more of our students need mental health support than they actually needed law enforcement support. But when we didn't have this role, we didn't have someone to call, and now we do. So we're seeing great response from that.
Thank you, Dawn. Alexandra?
So I'm going to talk about the Calendar Committee, which is a committee I've been a member of for over a year and a half, but have not been to a single meeting. I can't tell you anything about when they are because they haven't met during that time. It's a committee that meets every 2 years to plan the calendar for the next 2 years. So my first year and a half on the committee has been quite easy, but we're meeting this year, which I'm excited about. To actually see what happens. I don't know, the meetings are not yet scheduled, so I don't know when they'll be, but imagine soon. But basically what the committee does is looks at the calendar, sets the district-wide calendar for those 2 years as far as, when the school starts and ends, and implemented things recently such as the week off for Thanksgiving break rather than just a couple days, determine when spring break is, started the late start Wednesdays a couple of years ago as well. And so I'm looking forward to being part of that and seeing what changes will be in store or not for the next 2 years.
Hi, I'm going to talk about my role on the PCC committee. It is the Professional Concerns Committee, and it is made up of district staff and TEA staff, which is the Thompson Education Association staff. The goal is to improve communications among teachers, administrators, and the board, to collect and discuss information about topics of concern related to learning and working conditions, and to approve variances of district policies, procedures, and practices, to direct topics of larger concerns to the appropriate departments, and committee for the board to recommend critical questions to negotiations on an annual basis. The committee is made up of 7 members appointed by TEA, and 7 members of the district. The superintendent, Dr. Schaefer, and TEA President Andy Chrisman preside jointly, and we meet monthly. It's been the last Thursday of the month from 4:30 to 5:30, and that's my committee that I'm reporting on.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to share a little bit about the committee known as the CMAC, and it's the Citizens Mill Levy Override Audit Committee. And what this one is really, the purpose of this committee is to oversee the mill levy override initiative that came from our bond and mill. That was November of 2018. So the committee really provides independent review of the expenditures that have come from the election that we had. Excuse me, making sure that all of the expenditures fit the parameters that were established when we held the election, so that we are really meeting and we're meeting and reviewing to make sure that we are absolutely addressing and staying in the framework that we must stay in legally with our election of the mill levy. It's made up of a variety of people from the community. We have people that have background, financial background. We have some that are making sure that they're from all of the areas, Berthoud, Loveland, eastern portion of the district, every section that's there. We also have parent representatives on it, so they don't have to necessarily be a parent, but a lot of them are parents. It's not a big committee. I think we have like maybe 10 on it. And it meets about 3 times a year. And Gordon Jones is our facilitator. I think it's from 5 to 7 is when we meet. Usually in the each quarter, didn't do one this last one. And we're coming forward to present at some point here at the school board meeting. It might be in late September, I think. Yeah, it's coming up. So we will be doing that as well. So that's called CMAC, and it's the Citizen Mill Levy Override Committee to hold us accountable that we're doing exactly what we said we were going to do when we had the election in 2018. So those would be our committee reports. So now we're going to turn to public comment. So I'm going to turn to Stu and see if Stu would please read the guidelines for our public comment.
Because the board wants to hear the viewpoints of the public and also needs to conduct its business in an orderly and efficient manner, it will schedule time during its regular board meetings for brief comments and questions from the public. The board will set a time for public participation prior to the business portion of the meeting. The time for each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and each individual will only be recognized once. If there's a large number of speakers, the board may elect to take comments for 1 hour before the business meeting and conclude public comment after the business meeting. Public comments and questions at a regular meeting may deal with any topic related to the board's conduct of the schools. Speakers may offer such criticism of school operations and programs as concern them, but are encouraged to exercise their speech rights responsibly. Personnel matters will be discussed in executive session.
And Don will run the timer.
So as you have 3 minutes, the green lights, we've moved everything up here. So if you've spoken before, you'll now see that it's moved. You'll have the green light until 2 minutes and 30 seconds, then it'll go to yellow, it'll give a beep, and then you'll want to wrap up comments because it'll go to red and it'll keep beeping at the end. Okay. First up, we have Audrey Dean.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Schaefer. My name is Audrey Dean, and I am a 5th grade student at Big T. Last year, I was a member of Student Council and got to serve as one of the captains for our school's EEL Better World Day. Having an opportunity to be involved in my school is important to me because it helps me develop leadership skills. As a leader and a voice for my fellow students, tonight I am asking you to hire a second 5th grade teacher. With 32 other students in my class, it can get very loud, resulting in lots of distractions. Some of my classmates I know do not do well with a class as big as ours. I know that it can be hard to find staffing, but it would be very helpful to everyone if we got another 5th grade teacher. 5th grade is preparing us students for middle school, and we would have a better chance at successfully completing 6th grade with 2 5th grade classes. Thank you for listening to me tonight.
Next up, we have Stephanie Dean.
right, that was my daughter. Good evening, school board and Dr. Schaefer. My name is Stephanie Dean. I am PTA president for Big T, a current long-term sub for the interventionist position at our school volunteer, and most importantly, a parent of 4 students attending Big T. I am here tonight to address the board regarding our staffing budget that's allotted to Big Thompson Elementary for the 2023-2024 school year, as well as for the years that come after. As a former public school teacher, I'm aware there are many factors that go into making staffing decisions, and that each building is presented with unique challenges to meet their needs. Tonight, my primary request is for the addition of 2 full-time staff members at Big T. Our family joined the Big T community in the fall of 2020 when we relocated from Kansas City. Since our family came to Big T 3 years ago, the staff has faced numerous changes each year. These changes are impacting our school community in numerous ways, but the main 3 being that this year we have 4 classes between 1st and 2nd grade that are staffed with 3.5 full-time employees. Our interventionist this year is half-time, and outside of supporting our 1st and 2nd grade students, is unable to support or service other students in the building. Our 5th grade class, one of which my daughter, you just heard, is a part of, is at 33 students with 1 teacher. Due to this, our school has had to turn away multiple families looking to enroll their students in our 5th grade. I have had the unique opportunity to work directly with the Big T staff the past 3 school years as a long-term sub. Some things I enjoy most about working with them is their positive attitude and ability to problem solve. What I have seen firsthand this year is the toll that the constant changes is taking on them. They are working hard to support each other, the students in the room, as well as the community around them. The frequent budget changes has led to higher turnover in our building and has been taxing on our existing staff to constantly be recreating, supporting, and problem solving how to meet the needs of our students, supporting, and our community. I'm aware that staff retention is an area you all are focused on, and I believe that the additional staffing I am asking for is a part of the long-term solution. In a classroom of 33 students, a teacher is unable to meet the needs of a diverse learning population. This is not only difficult for students to achieve their full potential, but also leaves the staff feeling frustrated that they cannot possibly meet the needs of every student. As our school is located out west, we are a school of choice for many of our families. The inconsistencies in staffing has caused families that were once at our school to make a different choice on where they send their students. Families feel more comfortable when they know what staff will be in the building and that the number of grade level teachers will remain consistent year to year. Having a consistent number of full-time staff enables our school to grow our EL programming. That was right. I also just want you to know that what I am here advocating for is not just for our Big T students, but also for all of the students in our district. I believe that addressing the ratio of students to teachers in the elementary space will help us grow and remain, keep our teachers and our students. Thank you.
Sorry, Lauren Hoke.
She's a lot taller than I am. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Schaefer. I am also here. My name is Lauren Haug. I am also a parent of 3 students at Big Thompson Elementary School. 2 of my 3 students are in 1st and 2nd grade, so we are also directly impacted by the lack of staffing at our school. I wanted to address this issue. Coming to you as a former public school teacher, I am well aware that of the complexity of staffing decisions and the challenges you face when making such decisions. I am also here to request that you provide additional staff to Big Thompson School District for this current school year, 23-24. I'm well aware that staffing decisions are made in springtime prior to even last school year ending. However, I do believe that our school is in great need. In addition to our very large 5th grade classroom, we have 4 classes, 2 1st grade classes and 2 2nd grade classes that are split across 3.5 teachers. So our 1st and 2nd graders, who I would love them to come speak like Audrey did, but they're a little shy, are having to switch classrooms throughout the day to have different teachers. And I believe that the inconsistency doesn't do justice for those children. I also believe that we need another, some extra FTE for our interventionist position. Last year, we were able to have full-time intervention, and as my fellow parent mentioned, our current interventionist is only there half-time, and she's only able to split her time between the first and second grades. And as an educator and as a board, you know that the need for intervention surpasses just first and second grade. Yeah, this is our 5th year as a Big T family. There hasn't been a single year where we have been at the school where there haven't been significant changes to our staffing budget from the district. These frequent changes have caused a high rate of turnover in our teachers, and it's caused some of our best teachers to leave, quite frankly. This uncertainty affects the staff and the families at our school. Inconsistent staffing makes it difficult for families and staff at Big T to be able to develop long-term relationships, which is a huge part of education. Recently, my family had the privilege of celebrating Big T's 100-year anniversary. We love being a Big T family. The staff, teachers, and administration have all been great. Big T draws students from all over the district because of its unique location, its emphasis on STEM, nature, and science. New schools are being added to our district, and the population is shifting heavily to the east side of town. However, our school, which has educated Lovelanders for more than 100 years of Thompson students, needs more resources and enough teachers and staff to provide the quality of education I know you want to provide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more.
Lori Goebel.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Schaefer, and staff. My name is Laura Goebel. I live here in Loveland, and I'm a certified Constitution coach and want to ask you what Thompson School District has planned for Constitution Day. Thompson School District receives federal funding. Am I correct in that? Did you know that schools receiving federal funds are required by federal law to teach the Constitution on Constitution Day? This is my question to you back in May. U.S. Code from a website from Cornell Law School defines that a little bit better. And then also from the U.S. Department of Education website states, in remembrance of the signing of the U.S. Constitution and in recognition of the Americans who strive to uphold the duties and responsibilities of citizenship, including federal employees, the Congress enacted a law on December 8, 2004 that requires educational institutions receiving federal funding to hold an educational program for their students pertaining to the United States Constitution on September 17th of each year, except when it falls on a weekend, as it does this year. Constitution Day and Citizenship Day commemorating the anniversary of the signing of the Constitution. Additionally, federal agencies are required to provide information about the Constitution to their employees to commemorate that day. As I stated before, this was my question back in May, and as a local community member and doing my duty as a citizen, I would like to help you comply with this law. Constitution Day this year falls on a Sunday, which, however, enables us to go either before or after that day to meet this compliance. It need be if we can do this any time in the month of September. Back in May, I did leave some contact information for you with my number, as well as another fellow Constitution coach here in the area. The curriculum presented that we could present is professionally produced by Patriot Academy, and there are qualified coaches to help assist the teachers in meeting this requirement, and the school board as well. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I thank you for your time this evening. And I do have that sheet.
And we have 3 call-ins? Okay. Thank you, Dawn.
Hi, my name is Lana Scott. I'm a City of Loveland resident and parent of 2 students in the Thompson School District. My comment is regarding the need for an additional full-time 5th grade teacher at Big Thompson Elementary. This year, the school has over 30 students in one classroom, my younger daughter being one. A large class does a disservice to students and teachers alike, and they all deserve the best possible environment we can provide. I contacted the district in 2021 regarding the same issue when my older daughter was struggling in a large class that was noisy, distracting, and disruptive. These issues were resolved with the addition of a second fifth grade teacher, and my daughter flourished once the number of students was halved. I thank the district for its determination at that time. It made a significant difference in my daughter's educational experience. Fifth grade is an important and pivotal year. It's the culmination of foundational skills and sets the path for continued success in the higher grades. Research shows that a smaller class size allows students to experience more personalized attention, enhances focus on learning, reduces disruptive behavior, and is imperative for emotional growth and parent engagement. In addition to impacting the student's experience, it's unreasonable to ask that one teacher meet the needs and challenges of such a large group. I appreciate the many demands placed on the budget, but if the district intends to retain excellent educators, it must prioritize reasonable class size. My student and I would appreciate the district's consideration and support of an additional fifth grade teacher for Big Thompson Elementary. I appreciate your time and thank you for your attention to this matter. My contact is my email. It's scottlana13@gmail.com. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Axtman. I live here in Loveland. My kids attend Big Thompson Elementary. I have twin boys in fifth grade this year with one teacher. There are 33 kids in that classroom. That is just, in my opinion, very unreasonable that that poor teacher and the kids have to experience that. We are requesting that the district seriously consider hiring another teacher for the fifth graders. We really need this moving forward. Small class sizes is why we joined Big T. We love the school. We just know that that's going to be a very hard learning environment. Smaller class sizes show that kids will thrive more. They will do better in school. They will get individual attention. They won't get lost in all the chaos possibly going on in the classroom and disruption. I just really strongly hope that the district really strongly considers this second fifth grade teacher at Big T. Our kids and our teacher is counting on it, and we really, really need 2 classes per grade moving forward. So thank you for your time. I can be reached 303-378-8350. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jared Smith. I have a fifth grader at Big Thompson Elementary School, and I am calling in for class size at fifth grade, for fifth grade at Big Thompson Elementary. Just wanted to comment that having 30 plus children in one class, it's a huge workload for the teacher. It lessens one-on-one time for each student with that teacher. It creates additional distractions. It even has a heightened potential for spreading sickness and diseases, et cetera. And I can understand from a budget perspective, that's probably the only positive element to having these large class sizes. I do agree that the older classes should or could have the potential for larger class sizes because a little bit older and can understand and manage themselves better than like first grade. But it's just a discredit to children, and again, even more so the teacher, to have such a large class and to try to wrangle and manage such a workload, for just one person. So just wanted to call and give my 2 cents on that, and I appreciate it. 970-214-4591. Thank you much. Goodbye.
This concludes our public participation and public comment. Okay, we will be moving on to the action consent items. And these are items that we've had presented to us at a previous meeting or study session and involve items that need to be need approval. So board members, if you have any item you want pulled for further discussion, please let me know that now. Okay. I will read off each item, and then we'll vote on them as a group. Laura Lee, did we have any gifts and donations? No. Okay, so there's just the two items? Thank you. I was looking at that, and it didn't match my, okay, thank you. So 5.1 is approval of personnel, extra duty, and coaching recommendations. 5.2 is approval of expenditures over $50,000. Are there any questions over any of these? Okay, comment, Nancy?
That's too bad Gordon Jones isn't here, but he added more information to the contracts over 50,000, which really makes it a really useful report. Not just vendor name, but that complete description, the fund it's coming from, the amount. And so again, just thank you to Gordon and his team. I also, Bill Sievers took the time to answer all of my questions about the FTEs and what did that all look like. And so, again, just, thank you for that. I know at some point it'd be great if you integrated it into the report as well, but thank you for answering all my questions.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, Laura, I'll have to take a motion first.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So I have a motion from Dawn and a second from Stu for the approval of the action consent items. Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran. Pam Howard.
Aye.
Dawn Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Alexandra Lessem.
Aye.
Nancy Rumpfelt.
Aye.
Thank you, and the motion passes. All right, we will be moving on into our discussion items, and we will start with a bond update from Todd and Tammy, I believe.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, Board of Education, Dr. Schaefer. Todd Piccone, Chief Operations Officer. I will quickly turn the presentation over to Tammy Knauer, our Bond Director, who will give an update of all the work we've done in the last several months/year. So.
Good evening. I'm Tammy Knauer, Bond Director for Thompson School District. Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, and the board for the time to come in front of you and the community and give an update on the 2018 bond program. Tonight, I'll talk about the Bond Oversight Committee. We call it CBOC. We'll do a cash flow, budget, and encumbrance study real quick. I'll give you some updates on the summer projects, and then next steps, where we go with the bond program after this summer. This is in alignment with Strive 2025 and being inclusive and transparent to our community. Also visually showing the board and the community that cannot get into every school a little flavor of what we do with the bond funds. It's easier to explain than a financial or just in words. So the CBOC committee. In February, the board selected the 2 new members, and you confirmed the presentation of the 3 members that wanted reappointed. On March 8th, the CBOC committee met, and the chair and the vice chair were up for re-election, and of course the committee chose to re-elect Cecil Gutierrez unanimously. And then Zach Artis was a new member to the committee, and he was elected as the vice chair. So you'll see a different face this year as they give their updates. Our next meeting is in September, and the agenda on that will be reviewing where we are so far with finances and the projects, but also looking ahead at contingency projects, what we have in mind with any remaining inflation or contingency dollars that we could put before the board for approval for next year also. So this is a long slideshow, but I hope you looked ahead a little bit, and it's a lot of photos. So the financial piece will be a little brief, and then we'll go through the photos just again to give the community a taste of where the money is going. In general, like the note says at the bottom, last time I was before the board in January, the budget was $208 million. Since then, I did fully load that playground grant that we received from the state for Conball Middle School that's being renovated into, or has been renovated into Peakview Academy. So that's where the funding changed there. In January, we had encumbered $195 million, and now we're at the 201 as you see there. I wanted to also report that overall, we've paid out of that $201 million encumbered $193 million. So we have all this committed, we've paid most of it, and we're just finishing up and dotting our i's as we work out of those projects this fall. So the cash flow diagram, again, it's a little bit skewed because some of the blue, which was projected, is off of the original bond funds of $149 million with the premium. A little bit skewed. We have the bigger projects finishing this year of Conrad Ball and some of the major renovations. So our actual has far exceeded what we had projected. Because of that, we had the extra funds to further improve the schools for the students. We're on track again in the next year, luckily with some savings. I don't have final numbers on the bond contingencies and inflations, but we will be able to present some pretty neat projects to the board and to the CBOC committee to consider. So here's just a short list. I tried to summarize all the work that we did this summer. We were in over 27 facilities this year. So this just kind of groups some of the major projects and things to kind of take note of. As you work down the list, in the 2023 small projects, the consolidation efforts to create Peakview Academy at Conrad Ball, some of the things that happened behind the scenes are hard to show, but to consolidate that, we had to go through every piece of furniture, every asset the district had in all three buildings. Staff helped. Val, the principal at Peakview, was key, and the other principals too, Kathy and Tiffany, as they worked their way out in labeling every single thing we own. Yellow tags went somewhere else in the district. Pink tags go to Peakview. Things that weren't tagged, procurement then took a look at, and Mike Paradise did a review of what he needed to do with other assets. So when you think of just the construction piece and new furniture, that's one big part of it, but behind the scenes, a lot was happening in those three buildings just to make the major project happen. The major additions, of course, Peakview Academy and then High Plains. Again, behind the scenes, you think of the new addition, and I know the board took a tour and was able to see that hands-on, but behind the scenes, we had to reconfigure every classroom in that building. So not just filling the new space with furniture and curriculum, but reconfiguring now that you have new classrooms. Danielle had to do an amazing job of helping guide us where to put the classrooms now with all the new space. As you work your way down, again, the major renovations are listed there. We do have punch lists continuing. That's when the design team, facilities, IT, all the departments go through and do a punch list. What is completed, what's not. So work is still happening in these buildings. Cottonwood is a good example of finishing the front entryway, the secure vestibule. We're finishing hardware there. FF&E is completed. If you remember the $4.9 million of premium that was made for refreshing furniture in every building, we're wrapping that up. I'll talk about that a little more at the end. The various sites, I forgot to mention there too that some other projects we did, we moved SOAR's program that was in the admin building over to Thompson Valley High School. That created the room for audiology to then move from Monroe to the admin building. So we were able to buy audiology, new equipment, and move from there with different funding sources, but that was another project we did manage. All these projects, again, are not possible without the support of the principals, their leadership in keeping the calm and the understanding, and Val said it best when she said this is not deficit thinking. Such positive staff throughout all these projects. I can't say enough about the support and the patience they've all given us as we implemented these projects. So now that's the financial piece, all the nitty-gritty. Now we get to just show what we've done. So I'll go a little bit faster to make sure we get through them and allow for time at the end for questions. This just shows some of the secure vestibules that we've done. Just again, a sampling. We did do them at all the renovations. Again, the theory there is creating a space where the first engagement a visitor has in our buildings is with an adult and not with a student, so it guides visitors and parents to the main office versus just open into the buildings. The FF&E I talked about a little bit there. There's just, again, a sampling of some of the rooms we could touch in every building. There was no way we could refresh the whole building in these scenarios, but we did enough to go back now that we're finishing up and evaluating where we ended up, see if we have a little more funds to finish up here and there as able. Miscellaneous projects, top right. I hope you guys noticed when you came in, the new sign out here out there. The logo project that we did across the district, those were installed in about 3 weeks once they were all made. So every building that we own now has a stamp of whose building it is, and it's kind of a neat emblem. Little things finishing up, a cooler at Lucille Irwin, sandboxes, we installed some Gaga pits, that game on the playgrounds at a couple of schools, so some of those fun projects. Community Connections got an interior facelift. If you haven't been there, it's a neat project. We were able to paint every classroom in there, new flooring. We created a bathroom space on the next slide that can fit their large equipment in there. They have a lift and a larger changing bed that they needed more access to. So we were able to reconfigure that, new flooring. There's a before picture in the middle and an after in the top right. Here at Ponderosa, we were able to incorporate some cool murals through the building. I think we did 4 or 5, and in each one the panda's in a different location to kind of make it intriguing for the kiddos. Again, we include students as we can in our design advisory groups, so that's them doing an activity there to kind of show us what they wanted the field to be in some of the interior space renovations. The inquiry lab was high on the list. We removed those stairs that are shown on the before picture in the left, so that makes the classroom a little more versatile with the flexible furniture. They can use it for a lot of different activities now. Ponderosa, it's a good example of some hardscape, that concrete there before and after, able to improve that. And then the flooring, top right is a picture of some water damage and some heaving, some changes in the flooring, and we're able to go in and spruce that up a little bit too. Cottonwood Plains, the original bond program had, I think, seal coat and stripe that parking lot, and I don't know if any of you walked across it before this summer. It was pretty good at ankle biters is what we call them. So we were able to fully remove and replace those, both those parking lots, and a better solution for facilities down the road too. And then of course more flooring. Coyote Ridge, we were able to address on the left there some of the fields and improve the grass condition there for our grounds department. And then the picture on the right's a little hard to see, but on the top right, along the wall, the flooring was cracking and had a lot of voids in it, so we were able to go back with a new design and spruce up that hallway flooring. High Plains, of course, before and after there is, you can see where the addition on the bottom right goes right to that fence line now. So again, you were able to tour it, so that's the gymnasium, classroom addition there on the left, and music room, stage, locker rooms, more teacher space and conference space also. And that's an interior view of some of the new classrooms, quite a view out the west to see the mountains. And the gymnasium and locker space. Down the hall, Danielle was key in helping us kind of carry forward some of the the knowledge, some of those throughout that she already had in the existing building. And then the middle picture is on the stage in the gymnasium there of the music space. Outdoor learning space at High Plains was of high need and request from the DAG committee, so we were able to incorporate that on the west side. And of course, the track was a big improvement. We do share that space with the city. Thank you, City of Loveland. So they were key in helping us get the right size, right width that could be usable for their functions too, and then improving the playground. Conrad Ball, this diagram I've used in all the past updates too, to just kind of keep us all focused and oriented a little bit. But I wanted this time to show you a little bit of the pink areas, indicate the scope that we were able to add this spring. So not only did we have a $24 million project, we were able to add over $1.5 million of other changes. The pink areas, we in the hallways to the right, we weren't going to do the ceiling grid and tile. We were able to go back and do that. We did the glass above the lockers that had the old wire in it. We replaced it with clear glass. We did some painting and improvement of the flooring in the kitchen storage there in the middle. And then the 2 music rooms we're going to get cleaned and I believe just painted. We were able to do ceilings in there too, a little bit of lighting improvement, and flooring in one of them. The main gym, we were able to incorporate new wall pads. We changed the scoreboard to be the peak view emblem instead of the old blue. So it was neat to be able to, even with weather delays and with other long lead items, those kinds of things that happen on this project, we were able to incorporate a lot of new scope to make that building feel new. So here are some pictures before at the bottom left and after, top right of the main entry. I believe that's the art room before and after. Left is before. You can see just ceiling tiles and new flooring sure make it feel lighter, and of course the new furniture. The bathrooms all got an upgrade to some level. Some just received painting and flooring, but most of them did receive this much of a facelift. Cafeteria was a huge upgrade. You can see the ceiling is nothing like the old ceiling from the 60s and 70s, and the new LVT flooring. There's another classroom, just a typical classroom with the new furniture, new flooring, painting, ceilings, and improved lighting. The hallways, again, that's where a perfect example of old ceiling grid and tile on the left, new on the right, and of course a new flooring pops it. We were able to work in, of course, like we always do, the logo for Peakview, and on the left is the before picture. That's the music room we were talking about. So you had the old 70s colors up around the top with the sound panels. They're now white. It feels like great new space and new flooring. The site before is that top left aerial photo where the old modulars used to be, and it was down to one modular. So that whole south side now is between the early childhood playgrounds, which were approved and signed off last week. So their licensing came through. And then the rest of the playground is going to finish here, they're hoping by August 25th. So that'll be fully open on that side. The staff arrived, and that's a picture on the left of Val giving a hoorah speech to get them kind of oriented a little bit. That staff came back and faced the most work of any of the projects we did. Between unpacking again, finding your stuff. Some were in a room when they left in May, and it was reconfigured, and they were in a different room when they came back. So it's kind of like losing your luggage at the airport, trying to align everybody with their stuff and get them set up. It was a huge effort. They arrived on August 7th and pulled it together. And there you guys are taking a tour. We were able to hit High Plains and Peakview, two of the bigger projects. So what's next? First, we breathe for a little bit. Let my team recover, along with facilities and the amazing work and extensive work them. And I talked to Kelly earlier today too about IT picking up the loose ends and helping us pull these things together this summer. Breathe a little bit. We do want to reconcile the budget with Business Plus again. Gordon and his team make sure where we are with the dollars. We'll evaluate all the projects for closure, meaning if a school was to have HVAC upgrades and we were able to do a certain amount with the budget we had, we go back and say, hey, was there a little bit more? We have a little more funds at that school. Can we do anything else to make sure we spend every penny we can that was approved at every site? Once we do that, then we know how much we can pull back into contingency, what that dollar amount looks like, and what some of those projects can be that we'll talk to CBOC and then the Board of Education about. And then we'll go into planning for those projects. So if we get approval this fall, sometime for those projects, we hope to implement those, depending on what they are, design time, bidding, finding the right teams, and then here we go again, rolling into another summer. So with that, again, just thanking the community, the staff, and then the Board of Education for the support. This summer number 5 was just as crazy as all the other summers, and we love it, and it's so exciting to see the kiddos come back this time of year and see the designs kind of take shape and see how they work.
I don't have any questions, but just want to say, when I was over at Peakview on the tour, I said, I'm really disoriented as to where I was in the building. And Tammy said, well, then that's good, because they, the architects and, everybody did what they set out to do, is they reconfigured this space. And what they did is just amazing how they can reconfigure a space like that. And it's brighter, it's beautiful. And then just even the smaller things, flooring and paint, just
make the other spaces at other schools just amazing. So it's not, just the flooring and paint. It really improves the space, the learning space for kids and staff. And so, again, just want to say thank you so much for, everything you and your team, have done for the school district. So, thank you.
I just want to point out, you should stay, don't rush right out, because I think the next presentation includes a quote that also covers the design. It's not just about somebody coming to Peakview from one of the other two schools and the instructions, but it's also about just how welcoming the site is. And so you definitely got a nice pat on the back from somebody who was skeptical that we would be able to pull it off, and you did. So great work, and it is amazing, and I can't believe how much has changed in like 2 weeks since I saw it in person. I'm mind-boggled to see what you did. I mean, they really were working around the clock. I know you told us that, but to see it is amazing, so thank you.
Right. And a lot of that is FCI and the subs. I mean, they really were there 24/7 for the last week or two. So they pulled it together. We just provide the support so they can do their magic.
Tammy, do all the schools now have secure vestibules?
No, I believe there's still some that are, I think we're looking at for contingency projects. They're all secure in some manner, and we did improve everyone that we touched, but they might not all be that final model.
Okay. And then at Peakview, is the performance area still in the cafeteria? I know it was
Yes.
before, so it's
Yep.
still there?
Yes.
And were upgrades done to the performance area with lights or acoustics or anything like that? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. There were enhancements to the lighting package that was there. It wasn't all new system, but there were enhancements done. And then the stage then became a classroom also. So a little bit of change there with curtains, sound dampening, that kind of thing behind that will help the performance too, I would hope.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
At first, the school, when you walk up, doesn't even look even remotely like what I remember from the very first year it opened and I went to it. It looks really like a brand-new school, so great job. And I also wanted to ask, so when you do a project like this, do you guys have, like even with High Plains, do you do kind of like a follow-up with the teachers and staff of what worked, what didn't? I was talking with a teacher at Peakview, I don't remember the class, but she was talking about how there was no place to put, I guess they have these big posters that they used to store over at Monroe, but now there's in their new classroom. So stuff kind of like, what worked, lessons learned, kind of, I don't know. I don't know if it'd be a survey or what you guys do, but.
Sure. Yes, we do a debrief. We try to go back into the schools and talk to individual teachers. We're really integrated with, I saw Vivian accepted as the vice principal there. That's a good move. She's been key, her and Brittany, Neff in the office, and then of course Val at that school. Every school with the principals and with the staff, we do follow up as we're doing the punch list and we work our way out. We try to go back and say, hey, what worked, what didn't. We hear a lot just by default, I guess, when you walk through, you hear what's working and what's not. And we always try to take that forward. We try to fix it while we can at that site, and then of course we take that and try to move forward and learn from that too. But yes, there is a lot of feedback. Again, we can sit in a room and design a school to code and what we think works, but if you don't listen to the teachers and the people that live there and the kiddos even, you're not going to nail it. So
Right.
you bet. That's kind of the fun part too.
The
to see
fun
what
part.
worked.
Okay. And then the only other thing is, so I think it's amazing that we got so lucky with the market and we were able to turn the 149 into, it was like Miracle Grow on the bond money or something. And so now we have like, what is it, like 7.7 or 7.8 million that's not encumbered. Is that what the list of projects is going to be that you're going to bring forward sometime this fall? And will that include finishing all of the secure vestibules?
Sure, good question. The 7 million difference there, some of that is still tied to a site. Some of those funds are still tied to a project that was approved by the bond. in our district-wide inflation and contingency budget codes, we're hovering right around 5. That kind of ebbs and flows depending
Okay.
on what issues we're trying to solve, and that's what we'll fine tune and dot the I on this fall. So we know exactly how much we have in contingency inflation after closing the rest of the projects. So that extra $2 million in flux is committed to sites at this time and to
I see.
projects, but as we finish those up, implement things over the next year, things like kitchen equipment.
Mhm.
We took care of any imminent issues, equipment that was broken, that kind of thing early on and through, but we have a whole list of items that we still haven't touched for Lisa and her crew. So those were all original bond projects. We need to implement those and do what we can out of that $2 million that's already assigned to projects. And then we'll try to recoup what we can. But again, our job is always to spend every penny that was voted on for each site at that site. You get down to pocket change where it just doesn't make sense to try to spend $10 just to say you spent it all. Pull it back, redistribute on a priority list, and go from there.
Okay, and again, thank you all for such great work. You guys did a good job.
Thank you.
I would like to just conclude this part by telling you how grateful we are as a district, having had you in the role that you were in as far as walking us through all of this. You and Todd have done an amazing job keeping everything juggling, and you and your staff, but also the fabulous workers that have been out there day and night. And I know it's been really rough, but we appreciate it, and I know our students and parents do as well. So thank you to both of you for it.
Thank you. I'll pass that on for sure.
Yes, please do.
You
Yeah.
bet.
Okay, thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
The next one that we have tonight is a professional development update. After everything that's happened the last few weeks. Ta-da!
Good evening, President Cruz, members of the board, Dr. Schaefer. We are here to provide some updates. So I was here just a few short months ago, and I just saw you a couple weeks ago. So we are really here to celebrate some of the major events that we have that we've been able to implement and execute so far. So I'm really so let's go to, here's the Strive items that we are focused on. So human talent, number 1, and then 3.1 and 3.2. So we're just going to focus on a summary, celebrations, and then kind of a review of what's to come. These are our topics. I'm really proud to also be joint presenting with you, partnering with Chief Academic Officer Dr. Schneider and our nationally recognized Innovative Technology Officer Kelly Sane this evening, just to share some of the celebrations that are specific to their divisions, and then really share the excitement and the partnership and collaboration of all the divisions that it kind of takes to get here. So first off, I'll bring up Dr. Schneider.
Madam President, board members, and Dr. Schaefer, Melissa Schneider, Chief Academic Officer. I'm super pleased to be able to share what we've been doing this summer for our leadership PD. We've had a focus on professional learning communities, and you'll hear that come up many times in tonight's presentation, referred to as PLCs. Essentially, PLC is, you'll hear more in my presentation next, but it is a way of being able to interact as professionals around the work that you want to do and accomplish, how to monitor if you're doing what exactly you want to set out to do, and how to be able to correct or adjust if you're not getting the results that you had hoped for. So we started that off with principals in June. We worked with Solution Tree, which is the kind of the foremost authority on professional learning communities, and had an absolutely dynamic, wonderful presenter to our principals and some other building leadership members who attended on the 6th, 7th, and 8th of June. We intended to keep them 2 steps ahead of the people that they lead, because then, as you will hear later, we also did PLC training for our teachers just recently. So they received a ton of resources from Solution Tree, were able to stop and talk many, many times, and then were prepared to lead in August when their teachers had very similar, if not the very same type of conversations in their PD. An additional summer leadership PD that we had with our safety and security through our operations division, we had a safety and security day, and all of our building administrators, their leadership teams, as well as district administration, attended for an entire day to really lift up how safety and security really can fold into our supportive and inclusive culture, and being able to have safe places, ways that we respond to situations, smooth and fluent and confident. That day was really planned well by the operations division and our director of safety and security in collaboration with learning services and professional development. We had lunch with our SROs with every single school. We were able to really just build those relationships around how we're going to roll out what we're expecting to be for safety and security this year. And then we also had, just at the end of the summer here, really recently, we had a data literacy day. It's the first of its kind, and again, in close collaboration with our professional development department and our assessment and evaluation department. We took an entire day with school teams to be able to take a look at our data that was newly released at the time, to be able to see what gaps are we seeing, what trends are we seeing, how might we want to set goals for this upcoming year. We were able to fund additional staff to come with each principal as their leadership teams. We had teacher leaders at this summer PD on data literacy. We also had received training on our new database, EduClimber, which really houses any and all of our data that we collect. It seems like we have so much, but it was really a lot of sense making, and principals were able to kind of play in that sandbox during that day. And then we got really down to business and started conducting root cause analyses at each school level to find out what it is that we want to focus on for the year and how we want to push our school goals forward, of course, with input from the teams that they brought. So those were, I think I did 3 examples, I think 2 slides before this, but those were 3 really great experiences this summer. We're really looking forward to carrying those through in the fall. And flip-flopping with that data literacy day was an implementation teams day. So if you're elementary, you went to one day each, and secondary flip-flop. But our implementation teams day was really set out to support our supportive and inclusive culture goals in Strive 2025. So again, principals and their school leadership teams came together to be able to choose a focus area and really flesh out how they were going to implement that in their school culture that year, depending on what their needs were. So we had positive behavior support systems, we have family and community engagement, or positive attendance, are 3 different choices depending on what your data says that you may want to focus on with your school team. So you spent a day at data literacy and you spent a day at implementation teams. So back to back, those were great. And then I will hand this off to my colleague, Kelly Singh.
So we also had the opportunity to have a digital learning cohort. So when we changed our one-to-one model for Tech for All, we presented our change for systems, and our principals asked, hey, can you provide some professional development? So result, to support our professional development for our teachers, we had a team approach. So at the kindergarten, 2nd, 6th, and 9th grade levels, teachers from every single building came to our digital learning cohort day. And we also included our librarians, our tech facilitators, and our media specialist, so that they could all talk and have that professional learning community that you just heard about together. So it was differentiated, so we have different options. So based upon their digital learning journey and their skills, you had like a 101 class versus a 102 class, so people could choose what fit best for their needs. And then we really focused on student voice and choice, and really about creation. Technology should be something where we create, not just consume, and so that was the focus. And again, we're creating that community through that professional learning community. So kindergarten teachers across the district could talk with each other, 2nd grade teachers, 6th grade, 9th grade, so they could all have conversations about how to use technology. So in our digital learning cohort, it's really important that you evaluate your PD sessions. So we asked some of our teachers, hey, how did today go? And as you can see from our evaluations, they were really excited. So some of the few responses were the opportunity for a choice of a breakout session so they could choose the learning style that best fits their needs. We gave them Google slide presentations so they could take them back and share them with everyone at their own building so that they could continue their learning beyond the people that were in our cohort. They had creative time. They learned things that they hadn't used before. They had, based upon their skill and their interest level, they could choose the choice that worked for them. And they were just really excited about the opportunity to have technology and professional development and talking and visiting together. So one of the things that we tried to do is learn by doing. So we used a program called Flip, and we asked every single teacher to create their own little flip. And so it was a short 30-second video where they introduced themselves to the rest of the community. And so as a result, you're creating community, you're learning and building relationships, and of course you're using a digital tool. One of the reasons why we chose this tool is that this is a great example that teachers could use as an introduction to their own staff or to their own parents, to their own kids that are gonna come. Hey, we all know that's a little nerve-wracking when you meet your teacher for the first time. Hey, here's a quick little video. So we tried to have them use the tool that would be great for them for back to school nights. They were fantastic, fun videos, by the way. We also had an Empowered Learning Institute, and as a result of that, we had 780 teachers take sessions this summer using the Empowered Learning Institute. What a testament to our teachers who are dedicated and continuously learn. If we really want to talk about empower to learn, they are doing that themselves. So we had different topics that they got to choose from, and it was an asynchronous model. We had one synchronous day that we started off, and then they got to choose the sessions that they wanted. Through that asynchronous model, they had evaluations, and they got to do tasks that would allow them to learn that learning. So it was either from math or student voice and choice or project-based learning, and they got to learn and celebrate together. So as a result, these are some of the information that we received. Again, if you're going to provide any kind of professional development, you need to ask teachers to give you feedback on what was occurring. So again, testament to our teachers, 780 people took their summer to learn on their own. So I was very excited about this. You can see another comment from some of our teachers. It was really, it far exceeded our expectations of how many people were going to attend. So we were excited about the high demand as well as the positive comments, and we are going to be offering an additional session this fall on artificial intelligence and ChatGPT as a result. We also did a new teacher orientation, NTO, and we had a different model this time. We had about an hour to get 218 licensed teachers through. That's exciting for TSD to have that many new people. But we also wanted to honor the fact that everyone comes with their own knowledge and understanding, and many of our teachers who were at NTO may have been hired throughout the year, or they had been guest teachers, and so we wanted to honor that. So we had a station rotation model. Maybe you guys remember my station rotation model before, but we asked teachers to come in. They had an hour. These are the tasks that they had to complete when they were done. So if they already knew how to get on to Infinite Campus, if they had already knew how to get onto Google, they could actually use that time to just ask additional questions, look at our resources. But within that hour, with the help of our amazing PD team, all 218 people received a device, all were logged in, and they felt like we honored the knowledge that they brought to TSD. And I'll turn it over to my colleague.
So it's easy to see all the collaboration coming together. So last year was the first year we did the large tech device checkout, and that was wonderful, and we got, it helped the ITS team not have to deploy out to all of the sites, and then it allowed to make sure, this time we did it on day one, last year we did it on day two. We moved it up to make sure that people could get access to all of the things that they needed, including a Google Classroom that we provide, making sure they can get the materials, making sure that their emails work. There's many steps that go into that process. There's some training that happened the following week that they needed to make sure we needed to make sure they had access to. So, and Kelly actually is down about 200. There was over 900 sessions completed through Empowered Learning Institute. We learned that we could break Google Classroom, that they could, participants could only submit up to 20 certificates at a time, and many were trying to submit like 38. So anyway, good problems to come about. Many engaging lessons. I'll talk about this, well, I'll just jump ahead. But that Empowered Learning Institute has an entire section for classified staff as well. And so we will have access through September 5th for that as well. So many celebrations in the morning. The tables are decorated by teams. It almost becomes a little competitive with our high schools because of the large teams that come on. There's balloons and books and gift bags and all kinds of things. So staff are showing up at 6:45 in the morning to decorate for their new staff, making sure that's a welcoming environment. An email I got before I could even send out an evaluation, just thanking us for the organization, noticing, so many times, especially special service providers, shift districts. So they've attended 2, 3, 4, 5 new teacher orientations, and so this was specific from a special service provider, but thanking us for that. Our theme was kind of back to the basics this year, not to overwhelm, making sure everybody had what they needed. Technology, how do I get paid? When does my benefits start? Those are the things we wanted people to walk away with. And then on Friday, we made sure actually they got a full day in their buildings if they had access. We provided some space here for Peakview if they needed it. I think they were able to make do with Mary Blair. We were worried about air conditioning at that time. So just making sure people were just feeling grounded. One of the things that they've requested in the future is how do we support some of our alternative licensure folks that are maybe coming in from industry. How do we make some connections with those already in those contents because our teachers aren't on contract yet? So we have some ideas on how to bridge those gaps for some of those unique populations and making sure there's connection. Not everybody, if they're coming to us for a district level, then they don't have a school team necessarily. So figuring out how we can make those connections in the future. So really all hands on system approach. I did pop in to thank Todd Piccone. The staff, this was hosted at Mountain View High School, the staff there are amazing. So when you think about each member of our district coming in to be in education, to serve, the pride that is in that building that each staff member takes, whether they're a teacher, custodian, supporting the office is amazing. So I did thank him. Mountain View has a lot of work on their hands because it's a really conducive building, because it runs north and south, because it's so beautiful and it can house us. We're there a lot. So I do want to thank them at large across their entire system. So let's go into, we'll talk about TENS Week. So TENS Week, I always have to ask this because I probably say it wrong. Thompson Educator Networking Week. I think I often say teacher, but it's Thompson. So these are, in this TENS Week, 2 of those days are district-led. So these are our district initiatives, district-facilitated or district-guided PD. So August 8th and 9th. Tuesday, August 8th, that morning was a hybrid keynote. We had a welcome from Dr. Schaefer, and then we brought in Dr. Joseph Kim from the Optimism Company, and he talked to us about the Infinite Game. The Infinite Game brings together a just cause, trusting teams, flexibility, a worthy rival in the sense of how can we get better, and the courage to lead. And it was a great kickoff to some of the things that we're trying to do in Thompson. So a couple of our focus areas are around collective efficacy and working together as a team to provide and get to student outcomes. So that was a real honor to have him. He was super down to earth, and he presented to us live from Seoul, Korea. So by the time he got off with us, it was about 1 a.m. for him, and he would have never known. That afternoon, so Dr. Schneider talked about some of those specific PD days we had this summer with our leaders. One thing that we heard from our leaders was that they want to be a step ahead. They want to make sure that they can answer the questions and know where we're going. So 3 days of the professional learning community training in June with Carrie Green was our trainer, phenomenal. So she's still consulting with us. at no charge to make sure that we're staying aligned with the work that we were doing that summer. She's coming back in September to catch up some of their principals that couldn't make it there, and then bring our instructional coaches in at the end of September. Our instructional coaches at the elementary level have a big part in leading the PLCs, or professional learning communities, at the elementary. In addition to the safety day, we wanted to make sure that the teachers got, that the principals had the knowledge that we wanted to make sure teachers had. So a very, very reduced training around school safety, around Infinite Campus, and around educator effectiveness. So a couple of the big things, as Nancy mentioned, how DAC is driven by statute, all of these pieces that we provided training on in the afternoon are also driven by statute. Lots of statutes updated over the last year that go into effect this year, so we wanted to make sure our teachers had just what they needed before school started to support students and each other in that first day of school, because we've heard through like APT induction that some of those needs weren't being met in time before students started. So that was how we looked. Of course, doing something new like that, continuous improvement all the time. So day 2, that was all day 1. Day 2, as Dr. Schneider talked about, we really focus on 2 main areas: professional learning communities for secondary, and then math instruction at the elementary level. Fundamental purpose of a school is to ensure students learn at a high level. So professional learning communities, it's not a program, it's not a curriculum, it's a process of kind of how we do business. What do we want students, what's the outcome? What do we do when they're not making it? What do we do for students who have already arrived is kind of that piece. So some database problem solving occurs. It's very results oriented. The PD for PLCs, for professional learning communities, was done in groups of job alike. So making sure that me as an English teacher, I understand what this means for me, and then it starts going into our standards. So what does it look like for me, and how do I deliver this? We did the same thing with special service providers, so like school counselors and those folks, to making sure that they're getting the learning with each other. That was a request by them in the past. All Learners Network for math. The drive behind there is to support systematic math targeted in our district, so with the goal of raising achievement in math. And we brought out 19 or 20 trainers. There was a couple co-trainers in the math piece, so I'd have to go back and look. But 20 teachers, or 20 trainers from both Solution Tree and All Learners Network came out to provide support. We maxed out our buildings. We were specific about making sure that we were in buildings that had air conditioning. Some of our sites like Mountain View and Riverview had maybe 3 rooms going on. We were able to provide some differentiation for English learner teachers because of some other statute updates that came through that we needed to make sure. All together, we've had great anecdotal data. The feedback forms are not due till the end of the week, so I don't want to prematurely look at those. And then, let's see. Initial feedback is really looking at the participants' experiences and their learning. Later, we go into looking at how to measure implementation, application, then ultimately student outcomes. So, classified PD. So, really exciting. We're just under 3 weeks away from our first classified PD day. So on our next district PD day, it will include licensed and classified staff. So just a few pieces. We'll be carrying over some of that safety training. We'll have QPR, CPI. One of our known officers will provide some self-defense. That was a really exciting training in the past because we have our staff going out into schools and out in the community, so that really felt empowering to some of them. We'll offer a viewing of our keynote that day, so really, really excited. We have lots of people excited to come back and present. So just more of just that recap, really focusing on that collective commitment, that agency, the work that we can do together to produce student outcomes, and then just the kind of the 2 focus areas, professional learning communities for secondary, and then aligned curriculum for math and ELA. Classified PD, just expanding those opportunities. We'll get into some leadership opportunities throughout the year, and then creating specific pathways. One thing that we're working hard to do is make sure that we're being strategic and not offering competing opportunities those days. And APT's invited to everything. And like we've talked about in the past, sometimes meeting those unique needs comes through external PD like conferences and such. Questions?
So before we go to any board questions or comments, I want to illuminate two things for the board. First, kudos to Keely. It's second year in the position, and she has done, I couldn't be more proud. So very, very professional, very thorough. She's a workhorse. But you can see that the bar is set really high, and I'm very, very proud. 2 years in this role, and it's great. The other thing I just want to highlight, and you saw a little bit on display tonight, there is a complete intersectionality of all of our departments. And so it's not just our HR team, but it's also learning services, it's our technology, it's operations, communications, and I'm sure Gordon has to pay some bills too. But the fact of the matter is that I'll just borrow one of Keely's phrases, it's really all hands on deck. It's really, it takes an entire system. We're very serious about professional development. We know that the biggest return on our investment is in people. It's in people, and so it's ensuring that they have the skills, resources, tools, and development so that we have best in class, not only for our classroom teachers, but all employees in the district, from our transportation, nutrition services, all positions. So we're super proud, and again, good job, Keely.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would think that that's what
It's
we
everyone.
should do, because she has
Big
just
team.
done, she's just done so much. Questions? Yes, we can.
I have a couple comments and then one question. So first, I love how you're so enthusiastic about everything, and it just seems like you really managed to fit a lot in and get everybody just really up to speed quickly and really provide some quality training. I also really like how you take and give the principals to choose one focus area, which I think helps it not be so overwhelming, like, oh, we need to figure out how to do all these things, so that they can really narrow down on, for their school, what do they think is most important to focus on for that year. And so I think that's a great idea, and I know it's worked really well in the past. And then I love what you said earlier. I probably didn't get your quote because I was trying to write it, but where you were saying you wanted the kids to focus on learning at a high level. I love that statement. I think you should just put it on a big board. I just think it's a great statement. That's what Thompson is really all about. My one question is, when you were talking about how they were doing the root cause analysis for the achievement, I would be curious to know what was the result of that. What did they come up with? What did it look like? And I think that might be a great presentation for a study session, for us to hear what was that process for them to go through the root cause, and what did they identify, and then what were the solutions they identified. I think that would be great.
Yes. We'll look back at Dr. Schneider and we can put that together.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Smile at me and nod, okay?
All right. Well, for the three of you, this was a wonderful presentation. Very well organized, very easy to follow, and full of outstanding content. I was struck by Professor Kim's statement, in just one lifetime you can change not only your world, but the world of those around you and after you. And when I read this, when I previewed the presentation and then listening to you talk about it as well, it reminded me of an old maxim that I like very much. I'm not sure from what culture it comes, but I think it speaks very much to what he said, as well as to what Thompson School District tries to do. And this is that old maxim: you impact the future when you plant a tree under which you'll never sit. And that's what it made me think of, and I think that's our goal, isn't it? As the Thompson School District, to prepare our kids to plant a tree under which we'll never sit, but which they will climb and cut down and do whatever they need to do to have a happy life. So again, thank you to the three of you. This was a really fine presentation.
Thank you.
I think the totality of it is pretty stunning. You touched, every area of the district, and one of the highlights for me was hearing about the classified PD, because I feel like in the past we haven't been as robust in that area, so it's pretty exciting for me, and I think we've all talked about how important it is to create pathways and learning and leadership opportunities for them, so I just wanted to do a special thank you on that particular aspect.
Thanks.
Hi. So one thing that I think is so fantastic is that we could have a presentation on every single piece of this that would have been the same size, because there is a lot to everything that you covered here, and I really appreciate that. And that I think that you did a really great service by getting back to basics. Overwhelming to be a new person, and you are so focused on paying people that you miss out on maybe some of these finer points.
Yeah.
That's a bright start. And so I appreciate that you were able to figure out a way to still cover all the things and also like put the first things first. And so I love that. I did have a question around the focus areas. So are they the same focus areas that the schools had last year, or did they pick new ones based off of what the data might have uncovered?
So it's new and encompasses some flexibility. So at the secondary level, professional learning communities allow those school-based teams to develop meaningful teams that are driven by standards and outcomes, the alignment of standards and outcomes, as you could see easily or more easily between maybe like English and social studies at secondary levels. So the combined work together, making sure that there's every person is on a meaningful team is a big piece. So that is also a challenge in some of our small schools, because there might be only one fifth grade teacher, there might be only one music teacher, and so how can we get them in collaborative groups across the system? And sometimes it's being creative even outside of Thompson to make sure somebody can collaborate and think about how they're getting to those outcomes. Then the problem solving happens at that local level, whether it's grade-based, whether it's content-based, but allowing the training to happen allows us to come together at the same table with common language, common expectations, understand what a PLC is and what it's not. Our elementaries have been implementing this for a number of years, and with new math curriculum, that was probably more of a choice for them to make sure that they're not just being able to use the new materials well, but being able to implement and teach math well, so that all of our students are learning at high levels.
I just have a couple of comments. First of all, I think it's one of the things I've heard repeatedly from teachers over the years is that they get frustrated with being taught things they already know, and wanting to be able to choose what they get to learn. And it looks like you've done a really great job of giving them that opportunity. And I think all the many courses they did over the summer through that program really shows that when they're given that opportunity, they will certainly take advantage of it. So I think that's great. And then the second thing that was just sort of interesting when I was driving here from work on the radio was listening to a news story about the school system in Puerto Rico, which is in very, 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 very terrible shape. And one of the women on this program, was a teacher. She's been a teacher there for 23 years, and she just received her first bit of professional development in her entire career. And she said it changed her life after 23 years of teaching. Wow. And so seeing what you all are doing, you've done more in a week than people have gotten in their lifetimes. So good job.
My fellow board members have, pretty much said it all. I think it's great that, there is choice and individual, you're meeting individual needs within, the topics or the required, the topics. So you're a gem. Thank you for all that you do.
Thanks.
I would just wrap up with having been a teacher in the district for so many years, and now having our PD in such a focused way that really allows for us to grow, but for us to see ways to help students grow at a high level. So, yeah, it's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to all the divisions for
And
pulling it together with me.
You guys did a great job of sharing, Kelly, the fun things that you had and the enthusiasm, and Melissa to work with all the administrators and see their engagement and knowing that they're learning something just ahead of their teachers is a little frightening that, they don't have that. And so, but they went at it confidently. So thank you.
Just one other thing, Barb. I'll be interested in a summary of the survey results. We are a district that realizes how important data is. And so I'll be interested after the survey results come in, Keely, to have maybe in person, if not in person, a written report for the board, really just dealing with employee satisfaction, what you learn as the director of PD and your cohorts as well, because I think that's what really tells us how impactful anything is that we do. So I'm looking forward to receiving that whenever you have time to make that happen.
The other exciting thing is the trainers also have specific feedback they get from the participants the day of, and then they share that with us. So we will include that as well.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. 6.3 is, here it is, instructional vision for 2023-2024. So where we're going this year.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Schaefer, I'm pleased to present to you tonight an instructional vision moving forward here. A little bit of background as I stop to reflect on, this is my 5th year in Thompson School District, and I'm very grateful for that, but it is the first year, hopefully knock on wood, untouched by the pandemic. As I thought a year ago, we were still reporting COVID positive tests, right? And every single year has had an impact from that. And so this feels this feels exciting to kind of move forward and think about what are the tried and true things that we know that we've committed to doing in the past that we need to resurrect and recommit ourselves to instructionally, and be able to have a simplified focus. And you will hear tonight in the presentation how we are incorporating the collaboration cross-functionally across divisions to be able to move forward and really hit, from a learning services standpoint, the instructional pieces, the inclusive and supportive culture pieces of Strive 2025. So I am also joined by my executive team, and we'll be introducing them as the presentation goes. So in a Strive 2025 connection with this is that incorporating data literacy and professional practices in a way that narrows our focus on increasing student achievement. So there's a real focus coming out of the pandemic. It also connects the foundational importance of supportive, safe, and inclusive learning environments with academic achievement. And lastly, it builds staff talent through professional learning communities, which connects to each area of our instructional vision. So I want to introduce this graphic for you, which you'll see throughout the presentation tonight. It will go back and go out, in and out of it. And I will have my executive team talking about some of the points on here. So I'm just going to briefly define them for you so you can have a common definition. But in the center of the triangle are PLCs, which you've heard about, professional learning communities, many times tonight, and I'll get into some specifics about those in a second. But on the 3 corners of the triangle, at the top you see professional practices in TSD. Why that was selected and why that's important is that next year our state has shifted our focus on our educator effectiveness, the way that we evaluate our educators in the system, whether you're an administrator or a teacher, on professional practices. It used to be a 50-50 focus on professional practices and student data. And now it is a 70-30 focus. 70% of the evaluation is weighted on professional practices. And these are observable practices when you walk into a classroom and or a building and you observe practices of the educators there. So with that, that is a major shift. It has not been that way before. And so that also shows us that the state is very interested as well in being able to get our professional practices back up and shiny again. I have data literacy on here on the left-hand point of the triangle because over the years we have, I was reflecting too on 26 years ago, when I walked into my classroom, I didn't even have a computer. I didn't get a bunch of data files on my students, and we didn't have a day where we looked at all those data either. And now times have changed. We have so much data, it's like going to a buffet and you can't ever eat it all. And we really do. And we have so much that can be put together in a meaningful way, but lots of times don't necessarily have the time or the infrastructure to do so. And so having been able to have an amazing assessment and evaluation department house and centralize our data for us, we have a way to be able to look at it and sort it and really make meaning. So being able to keep the system aware of what's at their fingertips with understanding what student needs are is why data literacy is on there. And then on the right-hand point, we have inclusive and supportive culture, which is one of our pillars of Strive 2025. I don't need to dive super deep into that because you've seen those words before and know what they mean, but really it's our approach to something that's foundational in the hierarchy of needs to being able to actually learn when you go to school. To be able to know that you are cared for in a safe learning environment, physically safe, emotionally, psychologically, and cognitively safe. That was something that we've reflected on and realized was kind of standing alone by itself for a little while, and it's not a silo. It is something that we have to be able to practice professionally and to be able to understand what students could possibly need when we look at their data. So in supportive and inclusive culture, we have collaborated strongly not only with our student success team, but with our operations division and safety and security as part of that mission. So moving forward, I'm just going to tell you how PLCs bring those three corners together. It's all about kids in the end. And these are the four kind of questions. They are age old. PLCs have been around for 20 years or more, and they are something that has continued to repeatedly, through research, show that deliver results. It makes our jobs easier in the way that we are collaborating with each other, not competing with other educators, but we are coming together to ask these four questions. First one is, what do we want students to learn? So this begs an understanding of the standards of our curriculum, what we want to deliver. A child in 9th grade in this class at one high school taking the same class at another high school should be guaranteed that their teachers have these things in mind and are come together on that. How do we know that they have learned it? What kind of assessment tools are we using? What kind of check-ins are we doing? What kind of professional practices are we doing that are indicating to us that we have learning happening in our classrooms? What do we do when they don't learn it? And that doesn't mean send them down the hall and go, snap to an intervention. There are many tools in our educator toolbox with which we can diversify what we're doing in our classrooms. And so that is also something that we can talk about and learn from our colleagues who may be having success with the same student that we're not having success with. And those are conversations that are really helpful. And then what do we do when they already have learned it? So this model doesn't assume a deficit. It assumes that you have diverse learning needs throughout your classroom, and it suggests that you have students from here to here. And what are we going to do to make sure everybody has that educational experience that allows them to grow and achieve? So then taking these questions and systematizing them from a more administrative 30,000-foot view, what do we want to practice as a system? How do we know we practice it? What do we do when we don't practice it? And what do we do when we already practice it? And so being able to take stake in our system about where do we really need to work on things, where does the data suggest we need to work on things, these are a system-level version of those same four PLC questions. So that is how and why the PLC is in that center of the triangle. It really brings all of those pieces together. So I'm going to have Sarah Rasmussen introduce herself and talk to you about the professional practices in a little bit more depth.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board. Sarah Rasmussen, Executive Director of Elementary Schools. And I have the pleasure of going a little bit deeper into the professional practices in TSD. So just a little bit of history, because Dr. Schneider went into this, but I want to give you a little bit of context of where this is coming from. So the Colorado Department of Education has established 4 standards that are part of our teacher evaluation system. So I just want to name those standards for you, so again, you're understanding what we're really digging into. Standard 1 is the teacher demonstrates expertise in the content they teach. Standard 2, teachers establish a safe, inclusive, and respectful learning environment for a diverse population of students. Standard 3, teachers plan and deliver effective instruction and create an environment that facilitates learning for their students. Standard 4, teachers demonstrate professionalism through ethical conduct, reflection, and leadership. So our roadmap for what teaching and learning should look like in each classroom is laid out for us in each of these standards. They have the standards listed. Under each standard, there is an element, and under each of those elements, there are success indicators. As a system, we are taking the time to really collaborate what our understanding is of what really strong practice looks like in our classrooms. We want it to be consistent so that we can see it from school to school and ultimately classroom to classroom. So during our monthly EC12 meetings, this is when we have building leaders come together and district leadership. We will focus on each standard. So at each EC12 meeting, we will choose a standard. We will dig deeply into that standard. We will revisit that standard throughout the year. And then we also have a support team of learning services directors as well as the director of professional development. We'll be doing basically instructional tours and working with principals and building leadership to talk about what does implementation of this standard look like at that level that is creating the best learning experience for each student. So through this process, we will work as a system so that we can really build strong understanding of what impactful teaching and learning will look like in Thompson, and it's anchored in our state evaluation system. So I am going to turn this over to Theo.
Greetings, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board. I'm Theo Robeson, the Executive Director of Secondary Education. And tonight I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about data literacy. So data literacy is the ability to read, write, and communicate data in context, including an understanding of data sources, constructs, analytical methods, and techniques utilized to ensure application and resulting in a value of a positive impact for our students. We're expecting that the data we'll see in the future through this professional learning will cultivate our instruction, our assessment, and our intervention planning across the district. We're also excited to announce through this work, we'll have goals that are not only focused on academics, but equity and inclusion. Next up, I'd like to invite Patty Verdun.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, and members of the board. I'm Patty Verdun, and I'm the Executive Director of Student Support Services, and I get to talk about inclusive and supportive culture. As you probably know, there was a really strong focus on this standard, and it aligns with Quality Standard 2. And we will be focusing on other standards, but we will always continue to lift Quality Standard 2, which is those environment pieces. We know that if we focus on those, it's the best optimal environment for student learning. And we won't stop until each student feels that sense of belonging in their school community. Each student can identify a trusted adult that they can go to. Each student feels safe from harm, both emotionally and physically. each student gets the supports they need in their classrooms to thrive, and each parent, family, and student and teacher has all of those partnerships to really make effective growth for our students. So we are going to continue to grow in those areas. We will continue to have those implementation teams that are really going to focus on belonging to support positive attendance and increase those attendance levels, systems and structures for positive behavior so students know what is expected of them and can be successful. And we're also focusing on family partnerships and culturally responsive, inclusive, positive interventions when necessary. Now I will turn it over to Dr. Schneider.
So what's the plan for being able to do all of that? And a lot of it, you've heard tonight. I couldn't be more grateful for Keely's presentation preceding this one, because you've heard already about many of the things that we've done to be able to move this work forward. So we've had the Professional Learning Communities PD in June, our data literacy and implementation teams PD in July and August, our Safety and Security Day in July. As you heard mentioned, I believe from Sarah, in our EC12 meetings, which is roughly about 112 people from our administrative team here at the admin building, as well as all of our building leaders, we will be taking a deep dive. We will be a PLC. We actually will be functioning in the way in which we hope that others will throughout the district, and take a deep dive into what we understand about the quality standards and our educator effectiveness rubrics. And then, as you also heard, the instructional tour teams. One thing that I would like to see that has not been easy to do in the past 4 years is to get us out into buildings, right? I remember learning about half of the buildings before the pandemic struck when I was Director of Professional Development, and then I didn't get out to them for another year. And so it's been tough to get in and out of buildings, and we are so ready to be able to see what is happening again in classrooms and be able to support that. What I just mentioned was for leadership and keeping everybody a step ahead in that way, but our licensed staff PD, as you heard, establishing and recommitting to our PLC culture, learning more about our educator effectiveness expectations. We have had math and English language arts materials adoptions and instructional PD, as you heard about. And not to be forgotten about, but a continued integration of previous year's professional development. So staff new to Thompson School District is also caught up, if you will, on where we are, so they can enter into, while they may not have 5 full days of something, they do allow to get kind of a Cliff Notes version of where we are, so that they can get tracked in with the teams that they have to be able to use the techniques that we've been doing in professional development. So cooperative learning and science of reading have been big, and they're not going away. We're just going to continue to get better at different things. Now, all of this said, wouldn't want to design something that we didn't expect to see some results for. And these pieces of the triangle, as well as the centerpiece of the professional learning community, like I said, have all demonstrated in history, especially in recent history, to be able to turn out results for students. And that is what we want to see. We want to see results at the student level. So there's a little bit of a trickle-down effect, because when you change practices, you can change what happens with students, but it comes at a feedback level, and it comes at a professional conversation level. So things to watch for, and of course this list is not exclusive, but increased instructional expertise as a result of PLCs. I know for a fact when I was in a PLC and I was with some veteran teachers, I learned a ton. And so it is really, really nice to be able to have our teachers and our principals and our administrators working together in PLCs. Increased student outcomes in English language arts and in math as a result of PD at both elementary and secondary levels. Increased leadership effectiveness as a result of our deep dives at our EC12 meetings. As Patty mentioned, we hope to see increased student attendance, behavior, and family engagement.
and more targeted instruction to reach each student as a result of system-wide data literacy and being able to take a look at our data to drive our instructional decision-making. Those are just a few, but of course we'll be keeping our eyes on results that the system should be producing from this. What questions do you have?
Yep, might as well. So I will also love on this team as well. Each month, I have the opportunity to meet. We're really great with acronyms, so it's ILT. It's called Instructional Leadership Team. And so I have the privilege and honor to meet with this executive leadership team. Excited to have the addition of Patty now. But we immerse ourselves in data. And so as superintendent, that's the student experience is the most important thing that we do in this school district. And that's what we focus on. And I think that this blueprint, this work that the Learning Services team is doing is, if you can go back to that results slide, Laura Lee, that's the work, right? That's what we're working on. I mean, we have to be excellent in all 5 of those. And so today we had an opportunity to take a look at our spring data. And there's lots to celebrate, and there's lots of work. And so, as one would expect in any school district. But this is the work. And again, I am really proud of this leadership team that will, and the entire Learning Services department, quite honestly, to help navigate us through this.
Thank you. Amy or Alexandra, any questions? Don?
I just have a comment, and that is that I've worked with Theo probably more than anyone else up here. So fun to talk to you. I'd always leave so energized on how it should be, and if we did these things, and and put these things together, and the theory was awesome. And somewhere in the last couple years, as you pointed out, in the hardest years probably ever to do this job, you've managed to get the results because you put the time in to do those things. And I loved hearing people come in with their own version of these things. Like, they weren't connecting it to you and I's conversation, but I'd be like, oh my gosh, that is exactly what we were talking about 2 years ago in the parking lot. And I just love hearing it. And then last night, on my daughter's first night of school, one of these things came back, because the other thing I'm pretty darn excited about that's out of our control, but I'm grateful for, is that we've moved educator effectiveness to be much more focused on what we can control, because students aren't widgets. And as much as we'd like to put all the right things into them and have it be like this, they don't always come together on our time frame and in the way we think they will. And so I love that we're putting the energy into doing the right things to get where we need to go. And I just then heard my daughter say out loud, she experienced one of my favorite classrooms in the district that I went to on a tour. She's in it this year. And I was like, oh, what'd you think? And I'm trying to act cool. Don't want to, jinx it. And she said exactly what I said to you when we walked out of it, at how exciting it was for her to be in a room that had her thinking about going to college for probably the first time in practicality. And I just love seeing how that came together. And that may not show up in the data right away or in the same way that we expect it to, but all of these things coming together last night in my room with my daughter was pretty awesome. So thank you for going along with me hand in hand, and for everybody else who had a part in that, because it's amazing. So thank you for working with real people and doing the best with real people.
Thank you. Yeah. Sue?
Yeah. At the beginning of the presentation, you had the 4 questions that are critical to PLCs. And as I read them initially and then listened to you talk about them and Theo actually referred to this as well. The third question is, what do we do when they don't learn it? And the fourth, what do we do when they've already learned it? If we need any proof of the need for an educational equity policy, those questions, I think, address it. And so I'm happy that you chose the 4 questions that you did, and I think the last 2 in particular really speak to the importance of an educational equity policy.
Thank you. Nancy?
This whole thing has me really excited because it's got all this data, yay. But I really liked how, just the vision that it lays out, it just feels so much more, I don't know, well-rounded, like we're really taking all the, instead of having all these silos, like we're pulling them all together. And I also like, as Don was saying, the move to focusing more on observable practices, because I think that also has the benefit of, as teachers improve and they get really well, do well at their profession, it takes, I think, some of the pressure off of, oh my gosh, if my student doesn't achieve, doesn't grow, doesn't learn, that impacts my teacher effectiveness. Whereas now I think this will help direct the focus more to help teachers be the best that they can be, and then recognize that every student they all have different places that they're going to land, and really great teachers can maybe help move that. But at the end, I mean, kids are all different, and so I also like how the 2 sets of those 4 questions match up like this. I mean, it matches up like this, and my only other thing is really, this is such a big thing that you're doing. I think it's an awesome thing, but it's so big that I see questions like, you know, how is the success defined? How are we defining it? What does it look like? How are we going to measure and track it? How are we going to know what our progress is? I mean, we could, if we don't have some way to really see us getting there, I think it might, I think it'll just help keep the momentum going, and especially the teachers and everyone see the progress. But I mean, I just think this is a really great approach that you and your team, along with, Kylie already left, I think. I think it's just a great way to bring together 2 different departments and really make it effective for the teachers and for the students.
It's exciting. Thank
well
you.
done.
I'm just going to kind of wrap it up again. I kind of saved my spot for last. I just think, too, that it's real important that, yes, the end number, the data, everything is always there. But we have to remember that we have to honor time for the teacher to practice their new skill, and the kids to have chance to practice their new skill to show that they've learned it. But it won't happen on just that one time. And so we have to remember to give everybody a little bit of grace as they work through this process of figuring out what is a real PLC and how do we move forward with it, and what are our expectations for our kids, and how do we let it happen naturally with practice. So, but thank you. This is going to be a fun year to watch and see how it all works out.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. 6.4, clear bag procedure for specific athletic events. I see 2 gentlemen coming up here.
Yes,
We have
good
something new
evening.
happening.
Something new. So good evening again, Madam President, Board of Education, Dr. Schaefer, Todd Piccone, Chief Operations Officer. Tonight, I'll invite Kevin Clark up. He is our Director of Athletics and Activities, and he'll be going through a new procedure that we're going to be putting in practice here in the coming, actually, weeks, as fast as everything is coming. So I'll invite Kevin up to talk about it.
Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board, thank you so much for having me this evening. And start of school means fall sports, and one of the greatest things we can talk about is high school football and some things around that. The connection to Strive 2025 is just ensuring basically the safety of our facilities. clear bag procedure. I believe at one point we talked about around all school violence, about 25% is tied back to athletic events. And knowing that the majority of school shootings at athletic events are taking place at football games or across the country. Many best practices call for screenings at the gates. They also recommend clear bag procedures. In 2021, we had 12 consecutive weeks across the country where there was a shooting essentially every Friday night for 12 weeks in a row. And because of that, when we attend conferences at a national level, this is between Title IX and just the safety of your facilities, probably the two most talked about topics. Some data there that you can see since 2014, they've been on the rise. There was a little dip in 2020, and that was the COVID football season, which limited games, limited spectators. Poudre School District was the first in Colorado to introduce a clear bag procedure policy in 2019. What we're looking to do is similar to Moby Arena, Canvas Stadium, Folsom Field in Boulder, and Empower Field at Mile High. Current school districts who are already doing this, Colorado Springs District 11 has this same exact policy. DPS has a weapon detection technology as people enter the gate. Durango High School has this same exact policy. Cherry Creek has a policy in place where they do not allow students to bring bags into their games. Pueblo District 60 has metal detectors for all of their games this year at their district football stadiums. Many districts in talks of going to this, whether it's a clear bag or a no bag policy. So our plan is for our home football games at Ray Patterson Field and Max Mar to institute a clear bag procedure. Basically, we would have our campus monitors working with our ticket takers to be proactive. We've purchased clear bags because we don't want it to be to catch anybody off guard. Obviously, the messaging will go out, but we have the spare clear bags there, so if somebody comes to the gate, we can hand them a clear bag. They can return to their car, put their stuff in it if they don't know about it, but then they do have a clear bag to enter that game in. So we feel we have enough to get us through the season, and again, like anything, this is something we'd like to evaluate at the end of the season. So at this time, I'd take any questions you might have.
Questions? Okay. Pam?
First of all, I'm curious, what agency, is it a federal agency that takes the lead on tracking the school shootings, or as you said,
Yeah, so Todd might know he was here, but it was through the Secret Service is the webinar that Joe Vajansky and his team, anytime it's athletic, they send it to us, and I'll be honest, they're really boring. They're like 3 hours long, and then there's like 10 minutes about athletics that gets me excited for, but yeah.
Because I was just wondering where these statistics, the shootings at school sporting events come from by years.
That specific one came directly from ESPN.
Okay.
Came from an article there.
So, thanks.
Question about students. If they're on bikes or scooters and they've been at school all day and then an event and they have their backpack, is there going to be some place for them to check their backpack, or how does that work if somebody doesn't have a car?
No, you bet. So I think probably two parts. One, we have the clear bag we can give them. Hopefully that works. And if not, we do have ticket booths. And there are plenty of times where we've stored skateboards and bags. And typically they know an administrator there who they can kind of check it in and then check it out at the end of the game for. Yeah, you bet.
It strikes me that our community really supports our football. They are not the only one who thinks it's the best time of year. And so it'd be really great if we could also get the word out in addition to our normal means. I know it's already went out to families, but if we could make sure that we push it out to the community before our first football game, that'd be nice too, so we don't have a bunch of people having to use clear bags who might otherwise come prepared.
You bet.
Thanks.
I just want to understand on the clear bags. So I know that there was size requirements for the purse. So are you saying that you'll have a clear bag, so if someone brings a purse, they dump the purse in the clear bag, or?
So I think the purses within, I think it's 4.5 to 6.5 inches are allowable. And that's just kind of common practice amongst that. But I think if it's bigger than that, that's where we ask them to put it in the clear bag.
Oh, gotcha, okay. And then, because like you said, there might be some out-of-town family that comes, they're not aware. And I guess a couple of questions. One, how are we going to accommodate families, like with the diaper bag? I mean, I remember, it's been a while, but my diaper bag was loaded with a lot of stuff. And if everybody's having to go put stuff in the car, in the parking lot, what does our security look like for the cars? And I ask that because we're all hearing about the increased crime around car break-ins and all of this other stuff. I mean, I don't know why people do it, but they do. So that's...
Right, so I think the parking lot security is a great thing, and I think between Todd and Joe, we have more campus monitors that will be working our football games this fall, as well as maybe just, and some of you guys might already know this, but we do have 2 SROs at every home football game, and then we typically, for crosstown games, bring in 4 SROs.
Is this just going to be football, or will this could change for basketball season?
It's something that definitely could change, but I think right now, just staffing, we know we have the most families, students, community members who attend football. So that's where we thought we'd start there and then reevaluate after the football season.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Anybody
you
else?
bet.
Kevin, how are you going to notify the community about this? I understand that it's going to be much easier to notify families through regular school communication channels, but how about the general community, people who don't have kids in school, but who would probably support the local football teams? What's your plan for that?
Yeah, so I think, you hit on the first thing is, through newsletters, through schools, our athletic directors communicate as we play opposing teams to make sure their families know and things like that. But that's going to be the hard part, Stu, I think, of those first few weeks of the community member who isn't plugged into a school, isn't plugged into school communication. And I think that's why we thought to have that bag there. And then hopefully, generally, at least an observation I've made in the fall, the temperatures we get, people aren't bringing in as many items in the fall, or I guess early in the season, but come middle, end of October, that's when we're seeing, more bags brought in, primarily blankets and jackets. So again, that's why I think we did, trying to be proactive to get the clear bags already purchased ahead of time.
A suggestion might be that maybe Mike could send something. We have a lot of community organizations in town that support a lot of our events. You could maybe send just something that they could make an announcement at their meetings just during our first few weeks. Might work, I don't know.
Has it been in the newspaper yet?
That might change.
Yeah.
Yep, I think that's something we could easily do and
Yeah.
start on tomorrow morning.
And that's a really good suggestion, too. And, people of the older generation, we still actually read newspapers, and we also go to sporting events. People support grandchildren and so on. So I think using the newspaper is certainly a good idea, social media as well. But I think you understand and recognize the challenge in notifying the community. It's much easier to notify the parents. The challenge is going to be with the people who don't have kids in school.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
All right.
A
Thank
big
you. Have a great night.
Big change for us. All right. We have one item left. It's not a discussion item. It's written report. It's on a financial report that's in there. It's attached to our meeting. So are there other pieces, information and requests for information that we have that we need to add? If not, you know how to contact me with email. Yeah. All right. I am going to adjourn the meeting.